All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ReImagine Jobs Spotlight on Workforce Development. I'm going to be your moderator tonight. My name is Lindsey Disler. I'm a regenerative farmer, and I also work for the United Steelworkers in the organizing department on the University of Pittsburgh unionization campaigns, which are actually about to have a vote on the faculty campaign. And if anyone is interested in getting involved in the Get Out the Vote efforts, I'll post a Google link in the chat. But continuing on from there. We're excited to be joined by several esteemed guests tonight. They're working on workforce development in our region. And tonight's program is a part of the ReImagine Jobs Showcase, which if you want to find more about ReImagine Jobs, you can find it on www.reimaginejobs.org. ReImagine Jobs was launched in September of 2020. The goal with the website was to highlight sustainable economic development initiatives and job opportunities in Southwest Pennsylvania. The website focuses on featuring local businesses and organizations in 9 different sectors of sustainable economic development. And for tonight's program on workforce development, it is the 5th in the series of programs that are being launched to dive deeper into each of these 9 sectors. So we encourage you to go take a look at the website, explore more of the exhibitors, opportunities listed. But tonight's program will explore the exhibitors tonight's program, we will feature presentations by Dr. Reverend Charles Howell of the Mon Valley Initiative, Alyssa Manspeizer of Landforce, Jacob Hanna of Coalfield Development, and Kimmy Ferry of AmeriCorps, and Aiden Neary of ACDC. These presentations will highlight some of the current initiatives that are training people in sustainable employment, and we will have the opportunity to do a general question answer. We ask that you please put your questions for all of the panelists in the chat. And if you have any more specific questions for single panelists, we're going to be doing breakout rooms after the Q&A where you can dive deeper into each of the panelists and what they're talking about. You'll be able to choose the breakout that you're most interested in. And in that breakout, you'll be able to network and have more specific and informational conversations. So thank you again for joining us. First up, we have Dr. Reverend Charles Howell. He has served in numerous capacities in the city of Pittsburgh. His experience has been primarily in working to expand equal opportunity through education, vocation, and ministry for underserved populations in Allegheny County. Dr. Howell is currently the Director of Workforce Development and Financial Coaching for the Mon Valley Initiative. He also works alongside his wife and co-owner and pastoral counselor, cat is in the way, at their wellness center. So Dr. Howell, please take it away.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here tonight. I just want to start with kind of who we are and get into what we do. For over 30 years, the work of Mon Valley Initiative has been to support sustainable communities in the neighborhoods that border the Monongahela River. We do this in 3 primary ways. First, through building, renovating, selling, and renting affordable homes in communities that have been hollowed out after the steel mills closed in the 80s. Second, through community engagement and outreach. We work hand in hand with community development corporations, with municipal leaders and residents to identify areas of need and focus on how we can support positive policy initiatives that benefit the lives of people who still remain in these same communities. And finally, we support sustainable communities through our workforce development and financial coaching program. The basic outlines of our program allow our team of coaches to work individually with people to build or rebuild strong financial foundations. We do this through employment assistance, through benefits screening, and financial coaching. And through our process of tools and personalized one-on-one coaching, we're able to help our participants both find immediate work, but also identify a path forward to access training and careers that will lead to employment and the kind of careers that can sustain them through the kind of unpredictability of administrations or the economy, or just the simple normal change and fluctuations that come with living life that happens to all of us. But further, our work involves collaborating with a network of partners charged with meeting the needs of individuals. People don't come to organizations like ours because they've had the best options available to them through the course of their life. The median income in the communities served by MVI is nearly 30% lower than the city of Pittsburgh, right across the river. The unemployment rate is nearly double the city of Pittsburgh. And when you factor for race and gender in those communities, the disparities are even larger. So then add to all that 65% of the clients who come to us for assistance have criminal backgrounds or other barriers that add an additional layer or hurdle to employment and financial stability. That means that the necessity of our work is magnified. We work to identify employers who offer not just a second chance, but a path to grow. We work with partners not just to provide additional support such as education or housing or mental health, but we also work to advocate for change that will benefit those in our society who are often most at risk. So sustainable in this sense means that we have to work to support people as they rebuild their lives. We advocate for changes in policy that impacts this population. We work to connect people to training programs that will allow them to build their acumen in such a way that they're defined less by the worst moments in their lives, but by their best effort. We press this network of support to better understand the conditions, but also the consequences for individuals who have grown up in communities that have been traumatized by history, by systems, and then locked out of any hope for a better future. So sustainability for us means that we approach this work to restore lives one at a time. We understand that communities are made up of people and families, all with different stories and different needs. Our collective work is to restore people's confidence in themselves after they've been let down by systems and government. So we can talk all day about renewable energy and resources. We can talk about green jobs and the future of the workforce. But that future requires us to invest in the people who are that workforce. We have to work to bring equitable opportunity to every neighborhood and every school system. When we talk about building a workforce that is sustainable, we have to have a sense of empathy for our neighbors. We have to see that the reason so many live marginalized lives is not because of their choice alone. Rather, it's a consequence of 40 plus years of intentional disinvestment. So let me say this and then I'm done. Many people got stimulus funds over the last year. An average family of four making under $100,000 received around $11,000. That doesn't include any other benefits for childcare, tax credits, just direct stimulus payments. That $11,000 equates to an additional $5 an hour. If you're somebody making minimum wage, that's the difference between having to work 60 hours a week or just 40. For somebody making $10 an hour, that's the difference between alternating which utility bills to skip in a month. Those direct payments to people allowed families to choose. Maybe they wanted to return to school after they were laid off. For other families, it kept the lights on, it kept food on the table. Anybody who's ever spent an hour working for wages in this country made a contribution to the system, and it was finally returned to them. And it took a crisis for it to happen. A sustainable workforce is one that rewards the investments people make in their own lives. It rewards them with livable wages, with benefits, and an opportunity to grow intellectually and vocationally. The pandemic has forced a leveling of the playing field. Government's been forced to invest in people or watch the whole economic house of cards crumble. That same level of investment has to be made in people, not just once, but continually. It's got to be made in schools. It's got to be made in workforce programs and retraining and reskilling and loosening policy that prohibits second chances. A sustainable workforce is one that rewards the dignity of work with the dignity of commensurate pay. People aren't returning to the workforce because the employment benefits are so good. If the option is a low-paying job at an unsafe work site or staying home and helping their children learn remotely, when given the choice, most people choose the life of their families. So at MVI, we work very hard to identify employers who are going to value our clients as much as we do. We work hard to help our clients move forward towards their own dreams and aspirations. We understand that people need to be seen and treated as if their life has value. People are the most valuable asset any sector of the workforce has. So when employers and corporations are willing to make the same level of investment, both in taxes paid and energy expended, then we can truly build a workforce that's ready not just for the future, but is ready for the challenges of today. So if you're somebody or you know somebody that's in need of employment assistance, contact us through our website at monvalleyinitiative.com or give us a call at 412-464-4000, extension 4000. Thank you.
And thank you. That was a really good presentation. I found myself definitely being like, yeah, absolutely. So our next speaker is going to be Ryssa Manspeizer from Landforce. Take it away, Ryssa.
I'm going to remember to undo the mute button. And if I get a bit spotty, the internet's coming in and out, just let me know, I'll turn my camera off. And we'll take it from there. So hi, everybody. I'm Ryssa Manspeizer. I'm the Executive Director of Landforce. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the other hosts for including us in this important conversation. And thank you to Reverend Dr. Howell for these powerful, powerful words. So much of what you said rings true for what we aim to do at Landforce. Our vision is that we are committed to building a just world where everyone belongs, lives in a healthy environment, and surpasses their greatest dreams. We do this through our mission by nourishing a culture of self-empowerment for people aspiring towards meaningful and stable employment as we protect and improve the environment. Landforce, now entering its sixth season, is a social enterprise nonprofit that serves people living in Pittsburgh and the neighborhoods immediately surrounding it within Allegheny County. We provide jobs, job training, and transitional job support for the people who need it most, all while working to improve our environment. Our crew's demographics largely reflect under-resourced neighborhoods in our region. 86% of the people we serve are Black and 87% are male. We provide the tools and context for people to achieve their goals and aspirations, whether they are citizens returning from incarceration, struggling with addiction, mental health diagnoses, homelessness, or living in poverty. There are two pillars of our organization. On one side, we have workforce development, and the other side is land stewardship. On both sides, we recognize the need for a trauma-informed care model that supports our crew members and creates an environment of self-confidence and trust. Because of the seasonal nature of our work, we generally recruit one cohort of 24 individuals each year. We have over 100 recruitment partners, including the Mon Valley Initiative, who are embedded in our communities and who help identify potential candidates for employment. And we have a 3-step interview process that consists of a small panel interview, an on-site working interview, and a workforce development task. Crew member trainings are held in April and May generally and focus on hard and soft skills such as basic carpentry, trail construction, plant identification, and habitat restoration, to name a few. We also offer the opportunity for crew members to get certifications in chainsaw safety, OSHA 40, tree tender, and National Green Infrastructure certification. We provide financial literacy, a work ethic curriculum, resume writing, job searching, and interview practice, while the entire training and crew member experience is set within the context of restorative practices and trauma-informed care. Centering our crew members and their lived experiences is an essential part of what we do and of any effective workforce development program. Following training, Landforce crews are contracted by environmental nonprofits, developers, municipalities, and occasionally private citizens to work on environmental restoration projects, building and reinforcing their work readiness while improving our environment. We install and maintain green infrastructure, we construct wooden boardwalks, garden beds, we build trails, we improve vacant lots, and a whole host of other environmental jobs. Crews are supervised by knowledgeable and experienced Landforce staff who themselves were once crew members. Our site supervisors set examples and help build confidence, ability, and work ethic. Because of the integrated nature of our work, our staff can respond quickly, thoroughly, and with a unified voice to any problems our crew members experience. One example of additional types of support we provide is with driver's licenses. Less than 30% of crew members have their permit or license, but many jobs require a driver's license. Crew members often lack the funds or support to obtain a permit or don't have a vehicle to practice driving. Often, even those with a driver's license have accumulated fines on their records, so effectively have no license. We provide support to address these barriers, including paying for driving lessons. Over the last 5 years, we've hired nearly 100 people and contributed nearly 40,000 hours of environmental stewardship to our region. Our crew members have participated in 12,000 hours of training and 1,500 hours of case management. Last year, 86% of our finishers showed an increase in job readiness during their tenure with us, and 91% of respondents are still working 12 months after leaving Landforce. Our season typically ends in early November as business contracts wind down. Because Landforce is supporting an individual's transition into future employment, our career coach meets weekly with each crew member throughout the work season. These weekly meetings include an intensive intake process, the co-creation of an individualized employment plan, connections to necessary supports, and accountability to follow the plan through. In a typical year, 92% of those who complete their terms with Landforce transition immediately into future employment. We can only truly communicate or measure our success by listening to what our crew members have to say about the totality of their experience. While one crew member told us that the most meaningful thing about Landforce was meeting people that can overlook my past. Another crew member learned that through working with Landforce, once I put my mind to something, I can accomplish anything. We have grown to recognize that our crew members are not only gaining skills, but confidence and sometimes even a renewed optimism. These two quotes speak to the complexity of the Landforce experience, while also exemplifying how we really define success, one person at a time. Recently, one of our 2017 crew members came and spoke at our end of season celebration. He joined Landforce fresh out of prison with no sense of what he would do. And actually, I think he came to us through MVI. 7 months after joining Landforce, he left for a specialized cleaning job with a large hospital system and has since received a promotion at work, started attending college, and bought a house. When we asked him if he really needed Landforce or if he would have been able to do all of this on his own, he was adamant that prior to Landforce, he was directionless, lacking confidence, and feeling hopeless. And it was only through his work with us, setting and achieving his goals, learning core skills, and feeling valued, that he was ultimately able to meet his self-sufficiency goals. And even for those who don't make such a large leap, we see significant gains amongst all of our crew members as they work towards improving their long-term employment success. I'd like to end with the words of one of our 2020 crew members. Landforce gives you a sense of family, purpose, feeling yourself get better. I am a different person than I was before I started Landforce. No matter where I go, I can't thank you enough for how you care about your crew members, work with people's lives, empower people, and change their lives. This experience changed me so much. This work is important and good. I don't feel like the person I was before. This is one of the more powerful experiences I've ever had in my adult life. We recognize that the Landforce experience can have a significant impact on people's lives, but it is important that we do not take credit for this change. What we do best as a workforce development organization is set up a system of respect, where we put our people first. The people who come through Landforce seize the opportunity for themselves, and the desire to succeed and the change that comes about happens fully within them and by them. I will stick our website and some information in the chat. There's a great video if you want to learn more on the homepage of our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. That was great to learn about. So our next speaker is Jacob Hanna from Coalfield Development. Jacob is from Kelly Knob, West Virginia, and is Coalfield Development Center's coordinator. Jacob graduated as a first-generation student in business management from Garrett College and holds a bachelor's degree in management for sustainability from Bucknell University. Jacob also studied cultural sustainability in France and Scotland and spent 3 years testing triple bottom line sustainability concepts for coal towns in central Pennsylvania. And also focused on sustainability programs in Western Maryland. He enjoys spending his time writing music, playing the guitar and piano, as well as getting lost in the woods, spending time with his family, and harvesting some dank memes from the internet. So take it away.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Lindsey. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I have a presentation here. So give me a shout out if it shows up well for you all. All good?
Looking good.
Thumbs up? All right, awesome. All right, so I'll try and go through this quickly. A lot of great information that's been shared already by these wonderful presenters. Some of it may sound similar, and in my mind, that's a very good thing because it's a very much needed thing. So there's a lot of talk about resiliency in Appalachia, and really the collapse of coal has been around for a while now, but COVID has really expounded a lot of the cracks in our system that have been around for forever, really. And so where I'm at in West Virginia, we have the nation's lowest labor participation rate, the second lowest higher education rate, a plethora of other statistics that attach onto that, the number one opioid overdose rate as well in America. So all these things are linked together, tying back to the lack of opportunity in Appalachia. So there's a large need to not only diversify the economy, but to have programs that help folks readjust back to that workforce lifestyle. And so our organization aims to approach the project in a holistic sense, like what you've heard a lot from the other presenters today, through the lens of environmental, social, and economic strategies, all together equally balanced. And so part of what we do is incubate and grow social enterprises. This is a long blurb that I'm not going to read off, but essentially we capture materials that would be discarded out of old buildings or old buildings themselves. Instead of them being demolished, we deconstruct them and upcycle those materials to make like those wooden tables you see on your right. And we upcycle plastics to make the clothing that you see on the bottom left, on the bottom right as well. And so these are the enterprises that are the tools and the engines to help drive our workforce development program, which is what you see in front of you now. And so people facing barriers to employment in Appalachia, whether you're coming out of opioid recovery or laid off from the coal industry, or you're just having a hard time finding employment otherwise, this is our program. 33 hours a week of paid on-the-job training for a livable wage, 6 hours a week pursuing a higher education degree or certificate in the classroom, and then 3 hours a week for personal development, life skills training, financial literacy, communications, etc. And so that's what an average work week looks like for attacking a project like this one here, where it's one of many, many, many abandoned buildings in West Virginia that have just sort of been boarded up and left to die, which brings down the value of the other businesses around them. The economy in that area gets hit as well, and it's usually a liability to the city and the community. And so the folks that we brought into this training program, they're able to take out the wood that is kind of old and gnarly and not able to be used again. Instead of throwing it out, we upcycle it into our products, furniture products, wood products, etc. And then also refurbish, put back in the place of those materials, new items and new resources to help bring that facility to life. And so this is now a local community hub in the town of Wayne, West Virginia, which is right in the coal fields, to be apartments up above, a business incubation space and below, and a coffee shop off to the side as well. And so this is a lifespan you see from left to right of a building that was just dilapidated, that the city was going to just bulldoze over and send to a landfill. And a lot of valuable wood is in there. So you can see wormy chestnut, which is you don't see anywhere else anymore, has a lot of value. A lot of bars in New York will pay good money to have that distressed look. And so really what's lacking is the conduit to connect that supply to the demand. And that's what we're trying to cultivate. Everything you see on the right there are products that we've made out of reclaimed materials that would have normally been landfill destined. And so we've started to apply this thinking into how can we start working more with our partners in the area to upcycle materials that would normally be landfill destined. In our wood shop, in that top row that you see, we produce a lot of sawdust byproduct that we don't really use. And our partner university at Marshall, they produce a lot of food waste for their student body campus. So can we combine some of these ingredients together to make a high grade quality compost that can be bagged and sold to create an economic revenue and create an employment opportunity, and also satisfy a need that does exist for compost in the region. Same thing with textiles. A whole bunch of textiles get thrown out, and it can be used to be shredded and upcycled into mushroom growing components. And of course, what we do as well at the bottom with furniture. So zoom out a bit more. In 2016, this is what the world looked like for recycling. Most of everything that was ever produced to be recycled was sent to China. And in 2018, China said, enough is enough. We're tired of taking everything that includes all of your crap as well that can't be recycled. And they passed the National Sword Act, and they stopped receiving all the world's recyclables, which had a huge ripple effect. And so, as you can see right now, we aren't declining in our consumption of materials that can be recycled: glass, paper, cardboard, food, organic waste, rubber, etc. It's not going anywhere. The trends are going to stick around for a while. And so what does that mean in Appalachia, in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky? They're all feeling this ripple effect. These smaller, more rural communities, and even the metropolitan communities. My state capital of Charleston, West Virginia, completely halted all of their recycling. And so that affects the quality of life. It affects the jobs that are connected to that recycling, and it affects the businesses as well. So that's where we thought, okay, can we expand the strategy of what we're doing right now, incorporating people who have been left behind in places that are abandoned to transform resources that are being thrown away? Can we mix all these ingredients together as a regional strategy instead of just what we're doing in this one county in West Virginia? Because maybe Athens County in Ohio has a processing facility for plastics, and Mason County, West Virginia has a huge supply of it, but nowhere to take it. Can we be that, again, that connector that links those two together? Can we buy a box truck and start shipping it there? Can we look at the schedule of the train system to rent a box car to send it there? Those collaborations grew and grew and grew to what you see today on this graph, and now we're expanded up into Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, of how we can make this reuse corridor happen, and that's what we're calling it. And so we've been hosting collection events for old electronics that would normally be thrown away into landfill. This was in 2020, a very challenging year, but we were able to host safe events where people put all their old electronics in the back of vehicles, and we would take them. And those go to maker spaces throughout the area to be upcycled and sold into new products by local folks. And then the local events in the area, the football games that we have at our universities, none of them have recycling at all. And so we've been partnering with zero waste events in Ohio and West Virginia to capture all of that material here. So it was almost an 80% diversion rate that would have not happened before otherwise. So it's keeping that area clean while also capturing that valuable material and adding to that economic value to their supply chain for upcycling metals and plastics and glass. So more and more, these collaborations and conversations happened, even despite COVID, through our virtual meetings. And now this is sort of what our collaborations look like right now. Nonprofits, local businesses, large businesses, government agencies, development authorities, all throughout the really central Appalachia region, working together to fill the gaps that exist in our supply chains, in our fractured supply chains in the region. No one's got enough money to build everything that they need everywhere to solve every problem. So can we start sharing the resources instead to help each other out economically, financially, and socially as well? So these are some of the products that we've been making from those upcycled materials. The items you see on the far right there are plastics that have been melted down and upcycled into new materials and products. You saw the tables before there in the middle that have been upcycled out of wooden materials. Shirts have been made out of recycled shredded plastics and turned into fine textured textiles, and then also the other wooden products as well. I can go on and on and on. So the idea is, again, negatives make a positive together. And so this builds out into infrastructure. We need larger places to house these materials and collect them and process them. This Black Diamond facility was an old steel processing facility, which I'm sure you all in Pittsburgh are very familiar with. It was shut down since the 80s. It made planes in World War I, Jeeps in World War II as well, and it's just been dilapidated and empty ever since because no one wants to touch it. Well, that's where we come in. Anything that would be a liability we see as an asset. So we got a large brownfields grant to repurpose this facility as an aggregation hub to collect those materials in an open air market for sorting, distribution, and as a maker space as well. And that kind of thinking applies over into the abandoned coal mines that exist in Appalachia as well. This is an abandoned strip mine that we're repurposing into a large-scale composting facility for the food waste that's in the city near Morgantown, West Virginia. And so that is a project that's similar to this one as well, but different. You're not producing a sellable product here. We're planting 10,500 trees with folks who normally wouldn't have an economic employment opportunity. And so this was at a state park to help expand the value add of that economy for the recreation and tourism in the area. So more examples. We pulled out about 5,000 tires out of the river here. Now that river is an economic tourism boom for that community, and those tires have been upcycled and shredded into new products as well. So really, it's just looking at how can we see things that would be considered invaluable or left behind, and bringing them together to create something entirely new and valuable and sustainable. Democratize it to where it is something that everyone can get involved with and benefit from as well. And so I'm probably close to my time. I get excited about this stuff, so I talk fast, but we've been working with the Ashoka Foundation to identify how we can look at this thing as a broader system, even beyond Appalachia, into our neighboring states, and figure out how we can make these tools to help remediate places that transform products that empower potential in people. I'll stop there.
Thank you. That was super fascinating. So up next, we have Kimmy Ferry with AmeriCorps. Kimmy Ferry is a recruiter for Keys Services Corps in AmeriCorps. She served 2 years of service with Keys and one term of service with Ryssa. She served all 3 terms of service with the Braddock Youth Project, teaching teenagers video production and work readiness skills. She's supported hundreds of AmeriCorps members who over the last 10 years, as they have embarked on their years of service in Pittsburgh. When Kimmy's not recruiting and supporting her AmeriCorps members, she is playing imagination Pokemon-based games with her 6-year-old son and her husband and her 3 cats. So take it away.
Thank you. I'm Kimmy Ferry. I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to be sharing. So let me see if I can get that pulled up for you guys. Give me one moment here. All right. So as Lindsey said, I'm Kimmy Ferry with Keys Service Corps AmeriCorps. We are a program here in Pittsburgh focused on mentoring and tutoring youth and engaging them in community service projects. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what AmeriCorps is and then a little bit about what our program does. And I am going to share my PowerPoint here. All right.
This is your moment to take the path less traveled, to break the status quo, to stop talking about the problem and be the solution. This is your moment to create your own future, to bring people together and seek common ground. This is your moment to make our country safer, smarter, and healthier. You can inspire a kid to a brighter future. Build a house for a family in need or rebuild a community after disaster. Work in the wilderness to protect our public lands. Help a veteran find a home, a job, or a mentor. This is your moment to shape the future. This is your moment to be the greater good. Join AmeriCorps.
I apologize. All right. So AmeriCorps, the roots of it date back to the 1930s with the Civilian Conservation Corps. And then in the 1960s, the Peace Corps was started. And AmeriCorps is very much like the Peace Corps. So instead of going overseas to do service, people are doing service right here at home. And then in 1964, VISTA was started, which is Volunteers in Service to America. And the focus of that program was to create service in such a way that people are helping those that are in poverty. And you live in poverty alongside everybody that you're serving, and helping different agencies to help eradicate poverty. And then 1933, AmeriCorps began, and over the years, the focus areas for AmeriCorps have been education, economic opportunity, disaster and recovery relief, healthy futures, environmental stewardship, and veterans and military families. So there is currently 270,000 AmeriCorps members serving right now, and over 1 million alums have served. So AmeriCorps members are just meeting critical needs all over the country. And then right here in Pittsburgh, we have a lot of focus on working with youth, working with people who are refugees, health issues, environmental issues. And AmeriCorps just does really amazing things for the community by giving people, different skills when it comes to work readiness, developing, different programs that can make a difference in the community. So here is a little bit about what our program does.
Corps is an AmeriCorps program in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that's dedicated to improving the lives of youth through tutoring, mentoring, and community service projects.
AmeriCorps is like the domestic version of the Peace Corps. Instead of going over to other countries, we stay here in the States.
Key Service Corps is knowledge to empower youth to success.
Over the course of the years that we've been around, we have mentored and tutored thousands of youth.
Our AmeriCorps members are placed in schools, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, libraries, and at university-based programs.
They make a major impact on all our students' lives.
We help them with raising their grade point averages, help them with the completion rates of their schoolwork and homework.
Every morning I greet the kids as they come into the schools.
Helping kindergartners write better, read better.
Sounding out words,
The extra one-on-one support
in math, science, and literature classes.
Biology, like the science classes.
I've chaperoned field trips. I work with student council.
Reading books together, playing games.
tying shoes, playing basketball, volleyball, running a club for Japanese.
Being involved with the school's steel pan bands.
My biggest impact on the youth is getting them to say, I can do it instead of saying I can't do it, and making them care about their work instead of saying I don't care.
A lot of our kids don't have a grown-up figure who is there on a regular basis, who sincerely and genuinely cares about how they're going to do it and tells them that they're great and they're going to get places in life. And that's what a KEYS member can do.
Our members do service learning projects or legacy projects. They physically go out into their communities, they gather information, they put together a community asset map, they find out what the needs are in the community by talking to their students, the residents, and their site supervisors. Then they design the project and finally they implement.
We painted gymnasiums and auditoriums.
They help with summer cleanup projects.
Correlated community service with service to your country.
We converted the vacant lot into an urban garden in 6 weeks.
And food drives for the food bank.
Converting abandoned buildings into community centers and art studios.
Cleaned out a house, planted an orchard. The youth have told us that this has made me feel more empowered, more like an important part of my community.
Some tangible benefits of becoming a member with Key Service Corps would be the living stipend.
And the training that we provide.
Healthcare, childcare.
Upon successful completion of their terms of service, AmeriCorps members receive an education award that they can use to pay off a student loan or to go to school.
And there are also the intangible benefits, such as making lifelong friendships.
Being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Why would an individual put up taking that well-paying job and serve with us for a much smaller amount of money? Because they can give back. Because they can be the change they want to see in the world.
When you go home and you go to sleep at night and you say to yourself, oh, I made a difference today. I mean, I think almost every day it's a resounding yes at this job.
I think that I won't really know the true impact KEYS has had until like 5 years from
now I'll be able to look back and be like, wow, all of that happened in such a short amount of time.
AmeriCorps is a great chance to try out service in any capacity and see how you might incorporate that service or transition that into an actual career.
I worked with one individual who came into Keys, had absolutely no intention of working with youth. After leaving the program, he ended up pursuing his master's in social work and now wants to work in the nonprofit capacity with youth, and that's huge.
It's just given me an opportunity to experience things that I would have never had the ability to before if I hadn't joined it.
I've always struggled with education myself. I feel like this is kind of like my chance to make that up to like my family, my parents, and myself, to help people that were in the same situation I was in when I was their age.
I've learned that I can make a change, and everyone can make a change. No matter how small you are, everyone has a voice and everyone can make a difference.
I would definitely recommend that everyone do a term of service at some point in their life to give back to the community and to the country.
If I were to sum up Key Service Corps and AmeriCorps, I would use Margaret Mead's saying, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has.
So many people just make a break for freedom. What have you done today? Make you feel proud.
So our program, we focus on mentoring and tutoring kids, but really it's about empowering them to make change in their community. So we talk to them about what needs they see in their community and what assets they see, how they want to make their community better. And so, a lot of times that's, putting in an urban garden in a vacant lot, or creating mentoring programs for other kids in the community. Writing letters to senior citizens, cleaning up, their community, making trash cans, wooden trash cans so that there's a trash collection site, doing litter cleanups, different things that help the environment. And a lot of times people don't necessarily ask kids, what do you want to see, change in your community? And that's what we do. We ask them, how do you want to make your community better, and give them that voice and that ability to make their own change, and the tools to be able to do that. We've seen a lot of youth who have went through our program, then go on to become AmeriCorps members themselves, which has been really, really incredible. They had mentors in their lives with our program that have impacted them, and they want to be that for other kids. So, seeing this kind of cycle of giving back that happens it's a beautiful thing. Our program has about 100 to 120 AmeriCorps members every year that serve with us to make Pittsburgh a better place. We're always looking for more people that want to give back and make a difference in these kids' lives, and to make the community better, and to give these kids a chance to tell us adults how they would make their community better, and that's what we do. So, thank you.
Thank you. That sounds really impactful. So our last speaker for the night is going to be Aiden Neary of the Automotive Career Development Center at ACDC, and is also the editor for the college textbook. Craig Van Battenberg. Thank you. Is writing on electric vehicles and hybrids. He also worked at ACDC for over a year and a half, and is currently going for his associate's degree in pre-mechanical engineering at Middlesex Community College, with the intention of getting a full bachelor's in mechanical engineering at UMass Lowell. Aiden has taken a break from online school during the pandemic to work full-time at ACDC, taking on the role as editor of ACDC's EMV College Education Edition textbook, and is an assistant trainer focusing on Volkswagen hybrids and electric vehicles. So I'm excited to hear more about that. Take it away.
Thank you. So again, my name is Aiden Neary. I I've been working, or sorry, when this company was started, our primary goal was to keep independent repair shops in business. That comes from Craig, the founder, having ran a Honda independent repair facility for many years. And then when he decided he was done with that, he wanted to carry that because independent repair shops are unique. They're not the same as a dealership or a chain. And so he had a special place in his heart for them. He started out ACDC as a training center for emissions for the state of Massachusetts. He would train technicians so that independent repair shops could qualify to do inspections, state inspections. And then that all changed in 2001 when Craig bought a Honda Insight, which was the first hybrid to come from America from Honda. That absolutely caught his attention, and he was fascinated by the car. It was a marvel in technology at its time. And that slowly evolved throughout the years to present day. As more hybrids came out, we continued to add them to our inventory of cars, and just continued to expand across the country, training different people in different shops. So first and foremost, we provide trainings to technicians and automotive instructors, specifically fundamentals: how do hybrids work, how do EVs work, what are these technologies, and then also how to repair and maintain these vehicles. That's on the technician and instructor level. And we've been doing that for probably about 20 years now, and it's always evolving, it's always changing. We also provide consulting for the shops that these techs go back to, after they graduate class. They're loaded with information on how Priuses work, how hybrid Civics, and they have all these subsystems in their head, and they've learned so much, but now what do they do with that? If no hybrids and EVs are coming into the shop, they lose it all. So after we've taught the technicians or automotive instructors, we'll collaborate with the shop owners or educators in schools to set up a program. So with shop owners, we discuss what kind of equipment are you going to need? How are you going to attract hybrid owners? How are you going to attract EV owners and keep them? What's your maintenance going to look like? We'll provide diagnostics to the shop through our qualified shop program and support them. For example, we have a glove program. You need high voltage safety gloves to work on high voltage components, and they're a bit tricky to keep up to date. They expire every 2 years, and you have to send them out in advance. And so our goal with independent shops is to train them in hybrids and EVs and set them up for what's currently out and what could potentially be coming in the future, and give them as many tools as we can so that they can succeed and come out on top, because they're the backbone of automotive repair. And I have a special place in my heart for them as well. So now with educators in colleges and high schools, we have all this information that we're giving to technicians and instructors, and we were able to compile it into a curriculum. We have an L3 prep guide on hybrids and EVs that we send out, and we work with colleges and high schools to develop curriculums, equipment. What kind of equipment and tools are you going to need to be able to teach these kids? You don't need to have a college degree to learn about electric vehicles or hybrids or the subsystems within them, but you do need to be taught the right way. And what we've found is that's hands-on. And, get your hand in the car and pull that scary panel off that says warning, high voltage danger, you will be killed, because you won't if you're smart and you know what you're doing, that's our primary goal. So before the pandemic, we were also providing internship programs for college students, anyone, college students, or even adults who were looking to further their career or change careers. And our office is unique. It's in a triple decker in Worcester on the first floor. And it's our office. Obviously, we keep inventory, all our books and everything there. We work out of there. But then we also have 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a dining room. And so before the pandemic, when we had these interns coming in from all over the country, the US, Canada, the Netherlands was a very, Craig had a lot of connections in the Netherlands to colleges. And so teachers were constantly sending their students over to us. We'd have them stay at Tower Street for 2 to 3 months on end. And it would be an unpaid internship, but we provide housing, food, transportation, and all that. And, we'd have them work at the shop with us, whether it be helping run the business, maintaining the cars, construction projects and stuff. We were giving them work experience of just anything and everything. And we always lined it up so that we had an Up Your Voltage, which is a 7-day class we teach that goes in depth through all the different automotive manufacturers, different hybrid systems, as well as the fundamentals, how an inverter works, how does DC voltage from the high voltage battery pack get to the motor and turn into 3-phase, all this stuff. So we were doing that before the pandemic. It was really successful and we enjoyed doing it. And then unfortunately, the pandemic kind of put a stop to that temporarily. And now as we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, Craig started a little over 20 years ago, a nonprofit charity called Fat Cats, which focuses on helping foster children get out in the workforce, get up in the world, learn. And specifically, he wants to have foster kids come in because a huge problem in the automotive industry right now, you have to buy your own tools. Right. And everyone goes, okay, you buy your own tools. Tools are expensive, very expensive. We're talking $10,000 to $15,000 to get all the tools you're going to need to work at a shop. And you have to pay for them. They're yours. It's going to be your chest. But as a foster kid growing up in Worcester with, little to no income and little to no support in life, it's almost impossible to become an automotive technician out the gate without going into extreme debt, or that's the only option because they don't have the money to buy the tools. So Craig is looking to start, instead of having interns from colleges come in, have foster kids come in and work for us and live at Tower Street to kind of introduce them into being technicians and training them, because a huge dilemma is every shop wants smart qualified technicians, but not everyone starts as a smart qualified technician. That's something they need to build and grow and develop. So kind of how we're preparing is we're training independent shops and technicians about EVs and hybrids. 99% of business right now is not going to be EVs, and hybrids are very dependent on where you live. In the town of Worcester, you could say have 5,000 Prius owners. That's a market. That's a market that needs to be tapped because Priuses, they break down, they have repair issues, they have warranties. And so our main focus up until now has been training technicians on how to work on these cars so that they can hit an untapped market and feed that form of transportation, which is, we've always supported hybrids and EVs, and that's always been our main focus because obviously they're better for the environment. They're the future. They're better for the environment, and yeah. So, that's kind of about us, and yeah.
Thank you. I know as someone who is eagerly awaiting an electric truck to come out for the farm so we can have it for the farm, I'm very excited to hear about that work.
Yeah.
So next we're going to jump into the Q&A, but before we do, I realized earlier when I mentioned the University of Pittsburgh unionization campaign, the Get Out the Vote link didn't send to the entire group, so I'm putting that there. But now that we've done that, we're going to get into the Q&As with our speakers, and boy, they were some really interesting speakers. So I'm excited for the questions. If folks could please put, if folks can please put the questions for the panelists in the chat. We may not get to everyone's questions, but there will be more time in breakouts to ask the panelists more specific questions. So I'm gonna start us off while we're waiting for other questions to roll in the chat. What challenges do you face in preparing the workforce for sustainable careers for the future? Whoever wants to jump in can get started.
I'll take a bite at that. Early on in our organization, we were sort of under the, traditional assumption that giving someone a job is like the best thing in the world that you can do for them, and like you're done after you make a job. That's what the government counts. The government counts jobs, and so by that standard, we're doing a good thing. Really, though, you're kind of setting someone up for failure if you're not looking at everything else that leads up to that job life. Logistics is a big one in Appalachia. I remember someone talking about helping people get their driver's license back. And even at that point onwards, sometimes families have to make a decision of, do I drop my kids off at school, or do I sort of keep them here? Do I bring them with me to work? And so there's so many other components that lead up to being successful in the workforce that it's almost unfair to just throw a job at someone and expect them to do good. And then when they fail, it's like, oh, well, why did you fail? I gave you a job. It's really, you have to look at so holistically and get very granular. That's why we really try and emphasize that 3 hours a week, part of our 33, 6, and 3 on just like, what are some life issues that you're dealing with and how can we help just be involved? We don't want to feel invasive, but we also don't want to pretend that life isn't a challenge in Appalachia. So how can we work together? So having those sessions once a week interpersonally, and then once a month as a whole group all together, I think has been really helpful to just get out in the air some of these more taboo topics that people don't want to talk about that make life a challenge. So, yeah.
So I can piggyback on that. I agree. It's about the people. Like I said, it's about the people. It's about caring about individuals. It's about respecting their history, their experience. Everybody brings something to the table. It's also about the jobs and making sure that they are available, making sure that employers are willing to give people a chance, that we are able to continue to grow throughout our lives, that we've all made mistakes, we've all done bad things, and that doesn't mean that an employer should not be hiring you or giving you a chance. So it's both about the individual, but it's also about the employers in the environmental sector, ensuring that they will provide jobs. And as you said before, Lindsey, good paying jobs to everybody.
Does maybe one more question or one more person want to answer that, or should we jump to the next question? Does anyone else have anything? All right. So this is for Jacob. What is your primary source of revenue for your organization?
Yeah, so we're a mixed blend of revenue. Since we're a nonprofit organization, we are able to catalyze a lot of grant funding through the Appalachian Regional Commission, the Abandoned Minelands programs, the Brownfields programs, really valuable and hefty financial opportunities that don't normally make their way down to the grassroots level that our Appalachian communities are facing. So we're able to pull that funding down and then invest it in social enterprises that create businesses and jobs. And those businesses create revenue streams that feed back in to sustaining the operations of that nonprofit organization. So it's a blended mixture of that nonprofit world that's supported by that social enterprise module. So you're really taking the vision and the mission of a nonprofit and the tools and efficiency of the for-profit and having them work together and complement with each other. So the website I posted on there, you can buy everything that you saw in the presentation today, shirts, furniture materials, food, etc.
Awesome. So it looks like we don't have any other questions in the chat right now. I am actually, I'm kind of a little curious. Oh, Jason, or Jacob, I assume that is for.
Yes.
As you, sorry, I'm super dyslexic. As you develop businesses, are there options for people to start their own business?
Yeah, so part of what we also do is called seed funding. So if you're familiar with the show Shark Tank, it's like that, but with more compassion. So we capture that grant funding, and we every year we host an event where entrepreneurs will come in with their own business ideas, and maybe they're not fully ready to jump on board with everything that we do, like taking on that whole full 33, 6, and 3 workforce development component, and expanding to incorporate all those other elements. Maybe there's just one person that wants to just start something in their own community that's impacted by the collapse of the coal economy, and they want to try something out. So they're like a food truck, or they're a coffee shop, or they're an exercise facility that wants to help impact the health of their community. We will invest in those organizations as an angel investor to help get them started, because those are grant funds that we wouldn't normally have regardless. And so we want to just offer that to those businesses. So we would help incubate those businesses just as enterprises of themselves, but also we develop our own enterprises within our organization too. So if we identify a need like lack of fresh food, there's a lot of food deserts in Appalachia, then we will approach that market and reach out to farmers, reach out to businesses in the area, and identify how we can best design a service or an organization to complement that need in the area. And then so that's led out to our Refresh Appalachia Farmers Collective that reaches throughout that whole tri-state area.
Thank you. I see we have another question in the chat. Most everyone touched on this, but I was wondering if the speakers could touch more on how their work is tackling the 3 pillars of sustainability: social, economic, and environmental. Let's go down the row this time as I see folks. Aiden, we're going to start with you because I see you on my screen first.
Yeah. So starting with social, currently there's about 850,000 automotive technicians in the United States, the vast majority of which are between the ages of 40 and 50, roughly. There's some 30s mixed in there. Around 2050, you'll see close to half of all vehicles on the road being electric or plug-in hybrids. This is very foreseeable, and it's going to happen. It's coming. By the time that happens, all current technicians will have retired. They will be gone. They will be done with their careers. And everyone right now who's my age, 20 to 30, will be in their position, 40 to 50 years old. And so there's going to be this huge market that doesn't even come close to existing right now, right? EVs are a minuscule portion of the auto market. This is going to become huge, and it's going to need a lot of support. It's going to need technicians. It's going to need industry support. So it's going to need technicians installing charging stations, fixing charging stations. You're going to need people. EVs aren't green after being manufactured unless they run on clean energy. Obviously, it's a whole nother issue, the manufacturing of the vehicle needing to be clean. But after it's been manufactured, it's only clean if it's using clean energy. So there's going to be this kind of huge effort to supply these industries with people who are smart and able to handle and work with this new technology that we're kind of focusing on specifically in the technician sector right now. We're focusing on getting independent repair shops ready for all these EVs and hybrids to come on the road because, like I said, right now, 98% of business is not going to be EVs. It's going to be ICE vehicles, including hybrids. Hybrids, non-plug-in hybrids will also be gone. They're an ICE vehicle. They will probably be unaffordable because by then gas will be completely out of the picture for affordability. So we're trying our best to give both people opportunities on the small level for what we can provide within our business in terms of hiring and educating people. And then we're also just doing our best to inform and prepare repair shops for that future, for that need. And economic. Yeah, so economic opportunities, again, ties back to industry. This is going to be huge in terms of scale. We can't even imagine it right now because you only see a Tesla on the road every 1 in 200 cars. There's millions upon millions upon millions of vehicles on the road, and they're all going to be replaced by EVs and plugins. And that's an industry that doesn't even exist yet. That's going to exist. It's coming. It's going to, one way or another. Who does it? How they do it? Don't know. I can't see into the future. But economically, it's going to be this huge untapped pot that's going to require a huge amount of people to be educated to support it. And environmental EVs, that the whole idea behind electric vehicles, A, stop depending on oil, but B, environment. They don't produce any carbon emissions by themselves as a vehicle, and they ultimately will last longer, have far less components. An ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine, has tens of thousands of moving parts that all need to work and function properly over many, many years, that an EV takes 90% of that out. And so they're overall a much more environmentally sound vehicle to manufacture and use, both for the consumer, for repair shops. It's going to be less work in terms of physical parts coming in and out. It's going to be more routine maintenance and diagnostics, really, lemons, stuff that wasn't supposed to happen. And so, yeah, I think this is, it all ties back to environmental, because I want a sustainable future, and I want the cars on the road to have a sustainable future. And I want to make sure that that independent repair shops and educators are able to provide the future employees of these industries the knowledge they're going to need to get into it.
Thank you. So I see we're kind of running up against time, and there is a question for Charles. Could you talk a little bit more on some of the jobs and economic opportunities that your program is involved in?
So there's a number of different employers and opportunities that we work with in the area. It really depends upon, what the interest and aptitudes of the people that we're working with have. So we have a rotating cast of program participants. So we work with manufacturers. We work with the folks in the healthcare fields. We're really working to connect to training programs around some of these renewable energy sort of careers and opportunities. When we're talking about how all of these pieces sort of fit together, one of the reasons that so many people continue to remain kind of at the margins of society is because they come from communities that have been traumatized, or they're experiencing generational sort of traumas. And so our work has to be, by definition, very kind of individualized, right? Because when you've lived through those sort of experiences, you don't have trust in your community. A lot of times you don't have trust in your own household, and sometimes you don't even have trust in your own abilities anymore. And so much of the way that we're going to work with people is to begin really where people are at, talk about where you're at, how you feeling, what got you there, all those sort of things, and use that as a launch point. I need you to build, our coaches are going to work to just build trust and rapport, and use that to kind of leverage that next conversation into, really, what are your goals? And once we can talk about your goals, then we can talk about how do we get you from where you're at to that place of goal by building mile markers into your pathway that you can see. And so, and others that are, that are working with some of the same sort of, communities as we do, you can probably identify. Like, trust is the only currency that you really have. So as working with somebody, you have to be a trustworthy participant in somebody's life, because to get them to just tell you their story takes a leap of faith. And to do that in a way that doesn't re-traumatize them, can be a heavy load. So all of this work, about a sustainable future really starts with, getting people to build and reinvest in themselves as an integral part of what their future looks like.
Thank you. So a special thanks to all of our panelists for answering questions. And thank you to everyone who is watching on the Facebook live stream. We're now going to end the recording and transition to breakout rooms. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had an opportunity to engage in further conversations around workforce development. Would someone from each group like to give a little bit of a report back? Let's start with transportation.
Yeah, so we discussed, we went further in depth into how do we start teaching high school students and college students and getting this curriculum out to vocational schools, and expanding this, because right now it's very elective. It's, this school says, this stuff's kind of neat, let's give it a try. We talked about how it needs to be brought up by the student body and the parent body, that this is something they want their kids learning, because that's what builds a curriculum. They, by demand, they say, hey, we see this as a potential future employment. And we want our kids to learn it because we're paying for them to go to that school, or they're enrolled in your school, et cetera. So we touched base with that. And we also talked about, charging infrastructure, how it can be addressed on any level, between Ford starting their own charging station to, as was discussed, working with John and potentially building our own charging units and starting an independent business building charging units and installing them, how that's still feasible as long as you can run the electricity and install the station and pay for the electricity. There's no laws prohibiting you from saying, hey, anyone wants to plug into this can. And there's just a really, really large amount of possibilities for developing charging infrastructure. And there's countless jobs and countless career opportunities involved in that.
Just want to let everybody know that we're still recording, just so you know. Thanks. Go ahead, Lindsey.
Thank you. So next, let's hear back from conservation.
Do you want to each? So we heard great origin stories, more about how these wonderful ventures came about. That was mainly, Alyssa told a wonderful, shared with us how she developed different aspects of the program in reaction to things that she observed as being problems in the world, in Pittsburgh, and also the successes that have been experienced have helped shape the programs as well. So, Jacob, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, we touched a little bit on, some of the challenges that come with, trying to convince government organizations that it's not just all about jobs, that it is about some of the messy things in life that, we don't really want to try and tackle. And so making those two meet in the middle is a lot of what we do as organizations, and trying to make sense of it as well. So I think it's encouraging to hear that, there's a lot of progress being made to help translate that as a reality for not only governments, but for funders. We get a lot of funding from organizations that think that all we need to do is just create a job and, we're done. But really, I think a lot of people are starting to understand that life is messier, but more beautiful because of that as well.
And Alyssa, was there anything that, that was left out that you want to emphasize?
So I actually want to change my answer to the question about what the most challenging thing is. I think the most challenging thing is learning to let go. And when some people are ready and prepared and eager to go through the experience that we provide, and some people are not quite ready or struggle in a lot of ways that we're not yet capable of supporting them or keeping them engaged. And those are the moments where sometimes it's actually probably better for them to peel off and be doing something else. And those are really painful moments. Those are really hard moments about letting people trust their own ways and move on and do things that are important for them, and maybe letting them come back another time to show that they can do it.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gannon. Yeah.
And now can we hear from cultivation?
That's Dr. Reverend Howell?
Charles and Kimmy.
So we didn't really nominate a speaker, but we really talked about what is happening in Braddock. We talked a lot about what AmeriCorps is doing, particularly in Braddock, how the youth are engaged into both historically have engaged to change the community, but a lot of the projects that they're working on there over the last couple of years. And then we talked a little bit about what MBI is doing there in terms of some of the property projects that have been done and that are currently finishing up over there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us this evening. As a reminder, check out reimaginejobs.org for more career opportunities and information about a lot of these workforce development initiatives. If you are an organization, you should consider becoming an exhibitor on the site by clicking Become an Exhibitor on the homepage of the site. Tonight's program is part of a series of monthly programs diving deeper into sectors that are featured on the website. So you can also follow ReImagine Jobs on Twitter at Jobs ReImagine. And don't forget to like them on Facebook to stay up to date with some of their upcoming programs. The next event will be on June 30th and will focus on recreation, tourism, and hospitality. So we hope to see you there. And thank you again for joining everyone tonight. I hope this is the beginning of, or just the beginning of these conversations. So have a good night, everyone.